All right, so I'm sorry it took me so long to do this. I almost got it done earlier today, but fortunately my dad came home from the hospital, so I had to go pick him up. And so now I'm doing the recording that I promised. This recording is about the presentation. So remember, you're doing a presentation next week. It's supposed to be in person. Joey is planning to come online and do it. You're going to come to, you've got a list in the rubric of all the things you're supposed to follow for the presentation. And I just want to show if you were to do a recording or a video, you need to get your mat 10 feet approximately from your camera. And then when you do that, you line up the bottom edge with the bottom edge of your mat on the video screen. And that allows your whole body to show. So I'm 10 feet from the camera and the bottom edge is lined up. An example of not doing what I'm saying would be to have it like that. The bottom edge of my mat is not lined up. If I stand here, you cannot see my head. Okay. Similarly, if you were to do it like that, the bottom edge is not lined up. You cannot see. If I go down on the mat, like in this part, you won't be able to see my body. Right. So you're lining it up with the bottom like that. All right, and then I'm going to cover the poses, the 7 poses. I'm just going to cover the basics of how to do them. The first pose I'm going to do is tree pose. It's Vrik Shasana, Vrik Shasana. And I'm doing the best I can to pronounce it. I'm sure it won't be perfect, but I think it'll be close enough for us Americans to handle. And you can use my pronunciation if you're not sure. I find tree pose is easier to do on the floor than it is on a very thick mat. You stand, there's 3 levels that I like to offer people. The first one is with the foot on the floor. So I open my hip, I'm pressing my heel and leg together. The next one is with the foot on the lower leg. And then finally the foot on the upper leg. And you're not opening your hip out to the side, you're just opening your leg to the side. So the hips stay square with the front. You can have the hands here, find a fixed point to look at. You can take the hands up. I'm going to release. I want to show you the other leg. So I'm going to show you another angle on it. So notice that when I do it, my knee is not here because to do that, I would have to hyperextend my hip or turn. So my knee is there. Similarly, and then if I take it up to here, fixed point to look at, pressing them together, you can take the arms up if you want. Okay, Vrik Shasana. All right, the next one that I have on the list, I'm going to do them in a certain order just because this works well. So it's Utthita Trikonasana or triangle pose. This is one of my favorite poses. I'm going to step the feet wide. I'm going to turn the back toes in, the front toes out. My hip is not locked. I'm going to hinge at the hip crease. The thing is to keep the spine from side bending, right? So levels of the pose, here's one, here's another one. Another one would be to have the hand on a chair. And then if you can stay in the same plane, you can continue to go. So you're looking to keep your torso and your body in the same plane. So there we go. And then you can come up. You don't want to hyperextend the knee. Mine almost did that. So if you're able to do that, you just need to use your muscles more. So I switched to the other side. Again, my hips are open to the front. I don't want to lock the pelvis. I want it to be neutral. It feels neutral. And then as I go in, I'm hinging the hip. And again, I'm trying to keep the spine long. The core is engaged. This is a variation. This is a variation. Chair seat right there would be a variation. And then to go down lower, but only if you can keep your body open, like you're a starfish stuck on the side of a fish tank, right? You're not sticking your butt back. You're not sticking your ribs forward, right? And then we can come up and release, and you can turn and step in. All right, the next pose I'm going to do is extended side angle, which is Utthita Parsva Konasana. Utthita Parsva Konasana. Very similar to triangle pose. You step wide. It's usually a good idea to go into warrior two first. You don't have to do it that way, but it's one good way. Then you can come onto the leg, and you're looking to line up your leg and your spine and your arm. If you're not as flexible, you can be up higher. Let's see, that would be right there. If you're more flexible, you can go lower. And I can't go lower than this and still feel comfortable. All right. So this is one of my favorite poses too, triangle pose and Utthita. Well, extended side angle, Utthita Parsva Konasana. All right, so now I'm on the other side, warrior two. Then I've got my torso right over, I'm hinging at the hip. This is sort of a traditional position. We're here. If you weren't as low, you're there. See how I adjusted so that my leg still lines up with my spine? Or see how if I go lower, I still have to have my leg lining up with my spine. Good. And you can come up, bend the feet, step in. All right, so we're cranking through these. Another standing pose on the list is chair pose, which is Utkatasana. All right, so I'm going to do it from the side. So this is the way I'm going to demonstrate it right now is the traditional way, actually from the front. Well, I'll do first. The legs are together. And what you do is you extend the arms up and sit back into a chair. You're trying to sit back. So from the side, I'm trying to sit back into the chair. This is a very powerful pose. When I do it in classes, I typically do it, not always, but typically do it with the feet hip width apart, to fist distance between the heels. Similarly, you're trying to get the weight back. So here it is from the other angle. All right, so release that. Okay, chair pose. So the next one, it's Utkatasana. All right, the next one we're gonna do is sage twist. All right, so this one is Marichyasana. And you don't have to use a blanket underneath your hips, but I do like how that feels. So if I was going to do that, I would make sure it was folded evenly. I'm going to sit right there. Oh, you can't see my feet. So I have to move the mat back. So there we go. I'm going to sit up tall. And then what I'm going to do is bend one leg. Sitting up tall, I'm going to pick up my torso, take the arm around, the other arm's behind. I'm going to show this from another angle in a second. The core is pulled in. You're kind of keeping this leg in mountain pose, and you're keeping a neutral spine. I'm squeezing my thighs together. I'm going to release it. I'm going to show you this one now from another angle. So let's see. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to move the blanket, take this leg out. Right? So your feet are a mountain, legs are a mountain. Bring the one leg in, sit up tall, slide yourself into the twist. I'm squeezing the legs in, using a long, steady breath. All right, I'm going to release that. So let's see, on the list still, that was Marichyasana, sage twist. So we have, I think, just two left. We have bridge pose and cobra. So let's do cobra next. So cobra has different levels to it. So do they all do, right? But when I teach people Cobra, I have a tendency to keep them in low Cobra a lot. And the reason is because it's easy to cheat in Cobra. So Cobra is Bhujangasana, Bhujangasana. It's Bhujangasana. I don't know if it's an aspirin on the bah, bah, Bhujangasana. All right, so I'm going to bring myself down. What I want to do first is to pull the core up. So before I even do much, I'm down. Legs are hip width apart or together. Okay, so for me, together doesn't feel great, so I usually do a little bit apart. What you want to feel is hip extension. You want to be able to push your hips a little bit into the floor. Then you're going to pull your core up. Hands are on the mat, and I'm going to drag them energetically towards me. My gaze can go a little bit forward. This is a low Cobra. I'm not using my hands, but they're on the floor and I'm dragging. Shoulder blades away from the ears, core is pulled up. You should not feel low back pain. You can do a higher in Cobra where you come up higher and you continue to drag. And so up here, like right about here, I can still take my hands away. But above that, I'm really pulling my core in. I'm not using my arms to push, I'm pulling with my arms. Reaching away. All right, and then you can lower down. So that's the higher variation of Cobra. Both keep the hips on the floor. If the hips come off the floor, that's upward facing dog, okay, which isn't the pose we're doing. So that's like, it's like Urdhva Mukha Svanasana or something like that, upward facing dog. All right, so what we're gonna do, that was the Cobra pose, Bhujangasana. Now I'm gonna push into the floor. I'm gonna come around and do the bridge pose. That's, I think, the last pose. Yeah. All right, so bridge pose, you're on your back and you want a neutral pelvis. And what you're gonna do is relax the pelvis and then arms are at the side. Shoulders can be a little bit rolled under. The hands can press down onto the floor. You can also turn them. And you can even hold your heels, which I'm not going to do. I don't think I'm going to do that anyway. Walk your feet close in, bring the hips up. Shoulders are rolled. You can roll them under more if you wanted. Now my palms are up. And I'm lifting my hips up. So it's Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. And it's bridge pose. Okay, and I'm going to lower down. And then I'm going to hug the knees in. And then release. And it's a good idea after doing a back bend to do a little bit of a gentle twist of some kind, which is like this. Feels nice. All right. So we did all the poses. So again, bridge pose, Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. All right, so I'm gonna come up. Well, actually, I just want to remind you the neck. Okay, so you're trying to keep your neck relaxed. So when you go to come off the floor, head stays down, you roll, and you use your arms to come up. It doesn't mean you have to come up like that all the time, but that's just how to do it to keep the neck relaxed. And I recommend that. All right, so I'm gonna move over to another place and continue with this recording. I think it's a good idea for me to go over the presentation rubric. So let me pause. All right, so we're back to recording. The lighting's not super good. Hold on. All right, yeah, that's better. I don't know, maybe that was why I felt like the resolution wasn't that good on the previous part of the recording, and not as good as it was this morning. It was just weird. I don't know if it's my computer or not. Anyhow, so let's see. So I had this notion that what I would do is open up the WilmU page and just go over what the presentation is supposed to be. I was going to do this in class, and we just didn't get a chance. It also came up. Oh, I gotta do. Are you guys having that you every time you log into WilmU now you have to give it an second two-factor authentication every single time? Because I never was having that, and now I have to do it every time. I don't know if it's a setting or if it's some other reason, but I was never having that. All right, so I'm going to go into Canvas, and then I'm opening up the module, and I'm going to share the screen with you, and we'll talk through it. I'll tell you what, it was a big disappointment to me that I couldn't teach on Tuesday night. I really, really love teaching this class, and I was really disappointed. I'm sad about it still. All right, so I'm going to do share screen. Sorry for boring you. I should have gotten it ready first. Okay, so there it is. All right, so what you're going to do isn't the Kaltera capture. So what you're going to do instead is it is still a 5 to 12 minute presentation, and you're going to do your research. Don't forget to have, let's see, what do I have there? Yeah. So you need to make sure that you put your sources in there. Sometimes when people do the presentation, they have quotes even, and you can't do that without your source. So make sure you have your source in there. So for this, because it's not going to be on the screen, all you need to do is say where your source was. So that quote came from, Yoga Journal, or it came from, Yogi Baha, or it came from, whatever website, whatever, if you did use a quote. All right, so you're going to have an introduction portion. You're going to speak clearly. You're going to give the English name of the pose, and then you're going to try to do the Sanskrit and practice the pronunciation. You can use Google Pronounce. You can also use what I just did. Then you're going to talk about what the Sanskrit name means, and all the poses have some story with them. So you're going to tell the story that goes with the pose, and then if the pose has any special meaning for some reason to you, or there's something you really like about the pose, you can do some research, find something to share about the pose here, right? Then you're going to say the health benefits of the pose. And you're going to say who should not do the pose, so contraindications. And then you're going to demonstrate the pose. And what you're going to do is set up so that we can see you, and you're going to demonstrate it from, you're going to show, we'll be able to see you because you're in the room with us. You're going to speak, although we could, because we will be recording and Joseph will have to watch the video. It's probably a good idea that you get the camera set up so it's 10 feet away and your whole body is showing in the thing, just like I showed you. So I guess you still are going to get the opportunity to do that. Then you're going to speak clearly and concisely for that. You're going to do an accurate step-by-step tutorial that cues each movement with the breath, which I didn't do. I didn't say the breath for you. Sorry about that. I didn't say it at all. I don't know what that was about. I was thinking about it the whole time. It's really weird. I was really thinking about it. Like, honestly, I was thinking, should I hold this for so many breaths or whatever? And I just was like, nah, I just want to get it done. That's terrible. All right, so don't forget to cue the breath. Then you're going to demonstrate the pose accurately. You're going to teach both sides. So if most of the poses have sides, but not all of them, Cobra doesn't, bridge pose doesn't, chair pose doesn't. I'm just trying to think of what ones. So when they don't, you're gonna at the very least repeat it. Okay, so if and then next is show at least 2 views. So one thing I was thinking when I was doing triangle pose and extended side angle, as I was talking about being in the same plane, So what I thought about doing was turning like I did in tree pose, where you can see me from the side, so you could see what it looks like from the side. And then it'd be easier for me to demonstrate what it means not to be in the same plane. But I just didn't do it. So anyway, so you've got that, and then mention at least one safety precaution. So you're going to say something to watch out for while you're doing it. And then you're going to demonstrate at least one modification for all the poses. So how I showed if they had 3 levels or 2 levels, or if you were to use a prop like a chair or a block, or a blanket, like how I used the blanket in the sage twist, right? So some kind of modification. And then after that, you're going to give a brief oral reflection about what you thought about the class. And this has a bunch of information here for what you can talk about. And I think the rubric actually has points for if you reflect on every single one of the things. So you might make a little list for yourself, like a note card or something, to make sure you hit on everything. So it's the text and handouts, the health benefits of yoga, the asana practice, the breath work, the relaxation techniques, the discussion boards, which for that, it's the in-class discussions, and then the journaling. All right, so then the peer reviews are, I'm going to bring a handout of a piece of the peer review paper, and I'm going to open that up in a second so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, I think it, now I'm trying to remember if it's this file. I think it is. All right, so and then the presentation length. So just make sure you stay, and honestly, I will be recording them. I mean, timing them just because I do have to keep track of that. So it's 5 minutes, between 5 and 12 minutes. Don't forget to give references. So you just say them out loud. You don't have to, you're not doing an overhead. Okay, it's just you doing the presentation. All right, so let me open this. All right, so this is how I'm grading you. So if you look at that, it might help you. And then this one is how you're going to do the student feedback. Okay, so for this one, you're going to have your person that you're reviewing, and then you're going to say a specific strength about their presentation and why it was beneficial to you. So this is very tricky. So what you're doing is it's personal, and you're not criticizing them. You're going to pick strengths. So you're going to say, for example, I really appreciated the modification you showed for chair pose of putting a block between your legs because my knees knock in, and that pose and that specific modification really helped me. All right, another one you might say is, I really liked the story you told about bridge because it made me appreciate the pose more, or it kept me entertained and focused on your presentation, something like that. And so this is difficult to do well. You're looking for your own personal response to their presentation, and you're looking for 2 things, specific things that you liked and why. So you're going to write that there. And I think when I go to print this out, I'm probably going to alter it a little so you have more room to write. Because usually this is done in a, we usually have the class as an online class, so you don't really need a lot of space, but I'm going to make sure you have enough room. Okay, so you'll have 5 people to do, and then you'll turn this into me so that I can give you your grade. Okay, so and I'm trying to decide, because it's nice for people to hear what your specific feedback was, but it might take too much time. So what we might do is wait until the end to make sure we have time. And assuming we do have time, then you can share your specific feedback for the people, because I think each person really needs to see it. So if that doesn't work, I might have to come up with another way that we share the feedback with people so that they have it, but we're going to see. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. All right. So again, let's see, the presentation's in person. You will have to do it on the Zoom as well. Joey's going to have to be online because he's at work. Joey's going to be doing his on the Zoom, so we'll be watching his, and then he's going to have to give feedback to 5 of you later on the recording. I'm trying to think of other stuff. The points for how you set up. Why did I not go over? I didn't even go over that. I said it's 5 points for your whole body being visible. Okay, so if you're for that one, I think it'll be easy for you to do because I'll be right there. So I'll be able to kind of help you make sure that your whole body is visible for you to get your 5 points. So that'll be on the screen. I'm trying to think of what else. Let me know what questions you have. It came up also today. Somebody asked me, do I have to do that paper due on Tuesday next week as well? And I said, yes. And then I was like, is that going to be a problem? And I didn't mean that in a sarcastic way. I sounded sarcastic. I meant it as literally, is it a problem? So I feel bad because we just didn't have enough class time together. There's so many crazy things happen this semester. So I can push back the time a little bit for turning it in. Please request that. But I have to get the grades in, me personally, before Saturday. So if you can get it to me in time for me to read it. And I just want to remind you, I should probably go over what the assignment is for that. So let me do that. All right, so it's under the week 7 module. It's a reflection paper. And again, I'm just going to share the screen. All right, here it is. Okay, so using your journal, class online discussions, readings, and the yoga practice, students will write a reflection of their personal experiences in the class. The paper is 3 to 5 pages and it's APA format. So all that means is that you're going to have a cover page and a title, and you're going to put, you're going to have double space. That's part of APA format. You're going to do a description of your experience, the knowledge you gain in participating in the class and the practices, plans to continue, yes or no, for yoga, health benefits, and any resources used when journaling and or preparing for the presentation. So this is another opportunity for you to share your resources. And if you look at the rubric, you're going to get 20 points for having a cover page, an interesting title, a 3 to 5 page double spaced paper, and a references page with at least a reference to the textbook. And you can put your other references there from your presentation, right? And then the 80 additional points are for touching on the topics that are relevant. So the description of the experience, the knowledge gained, all of those things, the plans to continue, all that. And so I just want to make sure you get your full credit. And I also want to point out, it's not a very hard paper. So notice grammar and punctuation are nowhere in the points. Please do your best, but I'm just telling you, you're really just reflecting on the class. And 3 pages double space is really 1.5 pages. Okay, so it's really not that much. So please you don't need to spend hours and hours on this. If you're a slow writer, I totally appreciate that. Some people are slow writers. So if that's the case, just let me know. Hopefully we can work it out that you can get it to me before Saturday. I would very, very much appreciate it. The sooner, the better. The closer to Tuesday, the better. Okay, so just let me know though. All right, so I think that's everything that I had really wanted to go over in lecture. And I'm going to stop the recording so it doesn't get too long. So I look forward to seeing you next week.